More back-and-forth tariffs are expected to take effect this morning between the U.S. and China, hitting everything from chemicals to motorcycles. Police in a Paris suburb now say a deadly stabbing attack was the work of a man with serious mental health issues. The attacker killed 2 members of his own family before being shot by police. ISIS tried to claim responsibility. California Congressman Duncan Hunter is due to be arraigned today on charges he used thousands in campaign funds to pay for personal expenses. The so-called Golden State Killer, James D'Angelo, is expected in court today to be arraigned on 13 counts of murder.
OSU President Michael Drake announcing Urban Meyer will be suspended without pay through September 2nd, as well as the first 3 games of the season. The decision comes after the school's Board of Trustees determined Meyer did not follow proper protocol in reporting alleged abuse by Coach Zach Smith.
Olive Garden, for the first time, offering a new annual pasta pass as part of its never-ending Pasta Bowl promotion. The 52-week pass means unlimited pastas, sauces, toppings, and of course, salad and breadsticks, but will only be available to the first 1,000 customers who sign up online and pay $300.
Good morning, everyone. We begin with Hawaii in a state of emergency as a major hurricane bears down on the islands. People there are bracing for flooding, bracing for landslides, and up to 30 inches of rain. Mel Griffin is in our weather center tracking it all for us. And Mel, what are we seeing now from Lane, and what do you expect from this storm going ahead?
So we got the latest update from the Central Pacific Hurricane Center. So I want to take you right to the maps here. You can see Hurricane Lane now getting very close to the Big Island. Already up to a foot of rain has been reported on the Big Island. Landslides reported, flash flood warnings are in effect there. Hurricane Lane still a Category 4 with winds up to 130 miles per hour, gusts even higher, up to 160 miles per hour. It's currently 305 miles south of Honolulu, Hawaii. So I want to show you the watches and warnings. We have hurricane warnings stretching from Hawaii up through Oahu counties, and that hurricane watch still in effect for Kauai. So gusts 75 miles per hour plus. We could see those gusts reaching up to 160 miles per hour in some spots. Rain 10 to up to 30 inches. Flash flood watches stretch across all the islands, and like I said, landslides already reported on the Big Island along with flash flooding. Waves could reach 25 feet, and with those very destructive waves could bring storm surge up to 2 to 4 feet and beach erosion, especially on the south and west facing beaches. So we're watching this very closely over the next 24 to 48 hours. This is the brand new forecast track. Now let me show you. As the hurricane gets closer to the islands, it's going to encounter cooler waters near the island, so it's going to start weakening pretty rapidly. Already looks like a Category 3 by tonight. It's going to kind of go parallel to the Big Island, continuing to lash the Big Island with those very torrential downpours, tropical storm force conditions, and then it's going to move and make a westward turn. That's the important turn that we're hoping happens so that it doesn't get any closer to places like Oahu, including Honolulu. Now, Hawaii has only seen 2 hurricanes make landfall on record, so we hope this isn't going to be the third. And with this forecast track, it looks like we're going to be okay. And even weaker now than it was before as it passes next to Honolulu, possibly weakening to a tropical storm by Saturday morning. So this track looks a little bit more promising than what we've seen over the past 24 hours, so we're just hoping it stays this way. But regardless, still watching for tropical storm to hurricane force conditions by Friday into Saturday, all the way up through all the Hawaiian Islands, Diane.
And Mel, what are the chances that that track changes either, in a worse direction toward the islands, or perhaps an even better one away from them?
Exactly, and this track can still change. So you can see here, it goes through Saturday. Today's only Thursday, so we still are watching this for 48 hours. And if it does shift closer to the islands, that's when we have more major concerns of those hurricane conditions because the eye will be closer. We're also on the dirty side of what we call the hurricane, so this is where the worst conditions, the worst storm surge, the highest wind gusts will be. So any closer it does get to, say, Maui and Oahu, that's when we are looking at major conditions, hurricane conditions, major devastating flash flooding from these torrential downpours. On the other hand, if it does shift further from the islands, we're looking better, more like tropical storm conditions likely for these places. So we're hoping for that shift to continue to move away from the islands, but we're just going to have to watch this very closely over the next 24 hours for any changes in this track.
Hoping indeed. All right, Mel Griffin from our weather office. Mel, thank you. And our own Gio Benitez is actually in Oahu right now with a look at how people there are preparing. Gio?
Hey there, Diane. Here in Honolulu, the wind is just starting to pick up here. Some of the Hawaiian Islands are already getting those tropical storm conditions. We're going to start feeling them where we're standing right now in Oahu later tonight. Now, I want you to take a look at the latest forecasted path right now, Diane, because meteorologists are expecting a sharp turn to the left at some point. How bad it gets here all depends on when that turn happens. Now, across Hawaii, residents and tourists are rushing to stores and gas stations. Many stores are actually running entirely out of water. Now, officials want people to take this very seriously. Starting today, all public schools on every island in Hawaii ordered to close, and shelters are opening up on the most populous Hawaiian island, Oahu, to protect people who are staying in those evacuation zones. But we also know that people are rushing to the airport right now, residents and tourists, to find a flight that can get them out of here before it's too late. Diane?
All right, Gio, thanks so much. And President Trump is now out with a brand new interview denying that he ordered Michael Cohen to pay hush money to Stormy Daniels or Karen McDougal and defying those who say he committed an impeachable offense. Karen Travers is at the White House for us. Karen, what are the White House and the president himself now saying about these allegations?
That the president didn't do anything wrong, and Diane, that he hasn't been charged with anything. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders said some variation on that phrase about a half a dozen times in just 20 minutes yesterday at the White House briefing on a whole range of questions. But the president today in that interview with Fox News pointing the finger squarely at Michael Cohen, his former personal lawyer and fixer, who he said made the deals with Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal. The president says that he didn't know about those payments until later on, but of course, there's that audio recording that Michael Cohen says is the two men discussing in September 2016 the payment to Karen McDougal, of course, before it happens. And Diane, the White House has not explained the discrepancy of why the president says he didn't know until later when he's talking about it before the payment was made.
And Karen, I know he also spoke about his former campaign chair, Paul Manafort, saying he's a good guy and so on. There's been a lot of speculation over whether Trump would pardon Manafort, and he seems to be feeding that fire a little bit. What did he say about that?
Yeah, the president was asked that specifically today in the interview with Fox News. He didn't answer. Yesterday, White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders said she's not aware of any conversations, and later said it was just not something up for consideration at this point. But Diane, they're not ruling it out, certainly. And the sympathetic tone that the president has been taking when talking about Paul Manafort, certainly very strong signals that he would consider rewarding him. He has said he feels very badly for him. He says he's a good man, and that this whole trial and all the charges against him are very sad. If you're Paul Manafort's lawyers, you're probably thinking, well, this could be pretty good for us. He, of course, compared him to Michael Cohen negatively. President saying that Cohen made a deal to get out of trouble, while Paul Manafort is a brave man who he respects a lot.
But Cohen's not the only one in the crosshairs. The president, it seems, is back at it, going after his own Attorney General, Jeff Sessions. I know they're scheduled to meet today. What are they expected to discuss? Karen, did we lose you? Karen, can you hear me? Oh, it looks like we lost Karen. Sorry about that, folks, but we are going to move on. We have a quick break coming up, but right after, you're going to see James Longman's exclusive interview with that Thai soccer team rescued from a flooded cave in Thailand. Hear their stories in their own words coming up.
ABC News.
We're back now with new details this morning in the death of Molly Tibbetts. As her accused killer made his first appearance in court, Alex Perez is in Brooklyn, Iowa for us. Alex, so many questions around this case. Is there any more clue as to a motive here and to how this guy was living and working in the U.S. illegally?
Well, hey there, Diane. You know, investigators are not telling us too much about a motive just yet. They say this case is just beginning to make its way through the legal system, so they can't reveal a lot of those details just yet. But we do know authorities say this suspect, 24-year-old Christian Rivera, they say he confessed to the crime. They say he followed Molly back on July 18th when she was out for a run, followed her, abducted her, and then killed her, dumping her body in a cornfield. The judge has ordered that he be held on a $5 million cash bond. He's due back in court next week, August 31st. But I want to give you an idea of just how much of an impact Molly Tibbetts has had on this community. There are signs like this one still up just about everywhere you look in town, missing Molly Tibbetts. These signs went up for weeks, and the entire community played a role in putting them up because people here were really just so connected to Molly and her family. She became a family member here. People wanted to see this story, this case, have a different outcome. I'm going to turn around a little bit here and even show you, if you walk around town, this is downtown Brooklyn here, these blue ribbons. There's one resident that went through and put these blue ribbons up on just about every pole here that you see downtown and across town. There are signs of Molly, reminders that so many people here wanted to find her. Now, this story, this case has really launched a political firestorm. Investigators have said that the suspect is in the country illegally. He's from Mexico, and that the fact that he's here illegally has created that political firestorm. President Trump has been talking about this. He released a video on social media. Let's take a listen to what the president had to say in that video.
A person came in from Mexico illegally and killed her. We need the wall. We need our immigration laws changed. We need our border laws changed.
So, Diane, so many people here really just working on accepting the reality of this. Of course, the immigration portion of it, a polarizing hot-button issue. We know from his employer, a dairy farmer here in the area, they say that they've now learned that the suspect gave them documents, false documents, when he gained employment there. So they thought he was somebody else. He gave them a different name. And now they are also working on figuring out, accepting all this that happened and expressing their apologies and, well, not really apologies, but expressing their condolences to the family of Molly Tibbetts. Diane?
Such a sad story and so many questions still remaining. Alex Perez there for us in Brooklyn, Iowa. Alex, thank you. And now over to Florida, where there has been another alligator attack, this time in a Florida lake. Oh, excuse me. We're not going to have more on the gator attack. That one happened, though, in a Florida lake. We are going to get to, though, that exclusive interview. The world watched, helped in some cases, and waited as these Thai boys were rescued from a flooded cave. Now, our own James Longman, who was there from the beginning, got this exclusive interview, sitting down with the team and their coach. James, so powerful to hear their story in their own words. And that's just watching from TV. I can only imagine to actually be sitting there with them.
Yeah, Diane, it was just such an extraordinary moment. You know, I had that huge pleasure, as you say, of sitting down with those boys. And it was at the temple where they spent time as novice monks. It's been 2 months now, to the day, since they went into that cave. And boy, have they been on a journey.
It was a drama the whole world watched unfold. Now, in an exclusive interview, the team has come together to describe their harrowing ordeal. 12 boys and their soccer coach stuck inside a flooded Thai cave for 17 days. The Herculean effort to get them out and their miracle rescue.
Behind me, they are the flashing lights. That is the police escort waiting for the last ambulance.
Now, in an exclusive interview, they're describing it in their own words.
Sawadee ka? Is life back to normal again?
11-year-old Titan says, I feel the love, I feel warm. 25-year-old Coach Ek describing the moment he realized they were trapped inside the cave with no way out.
You thought, I'm stuck, I need to find a way to get everyone out, and you had some rope. What was your plan?
I volunteered to dive to see if I can go through and save everyone. I let T, Adun, and Knight hold the rope, and I said, if I don't tug, it's safe to come through. But if I tug twice, it's dangerous and I'm coming back. When I realized we were stuck inside the cave, I didn't tell them because I didn't want to panic them. And so he turned to meditation. I'm used to prayer. I've done it every night of my life. And so I asked that they'd have a peaceful night and a deep sleep. The 13 surviving on water dripping from stalactites in the cave, his idea. The boys say on the 4th day they began digging with rocks they found inside. Then, week after 9 days missing, a surprise in the darkness.
How many of you? 13. Brilliant.
Where the British divers came and you could hear them in the water. Who went down to the water first? Adun.
I was in shock, says Adun. I thought that one day they must come. We were waiting and hoping every day. But a fun moment of misunderstanding.
Who was translating?
I asked Adun and Bu to translate, but no one was because they were so surprised. So I was shouting, please, someone translate. And then bonding with their rescuers.
Who played a game with the Navy SEALs? Everyone played games.
Using soil and stones to play checkers.
And who beat the Navy SEAL? Everybody lost.
And finally, the rescue itself.
It was a funny story about how you decided who would go first.
We all decided that the boys who lived farthest from the cave would go first, so they had time to bike home and tell their parents they were safe. We really had no idea there'd be so many people outside. But of course, young boys need a break.
Do you want some crisps or some sweets?
One-on-one, Adun opens up.
You do speak very good English. And what do you want to do in the future?
So, play a guitar and play football.
Play a guitar and play football?
Yeah.
And now some are even Instagram stars.
How many followers do you have?
98.
98,000?
Yes.
98,000 followers, this guy. Wow. It is just so wonderful to see them so healthy and happy. And during their time as novice monks, the boys told us they learned about the meaning of love. And one even told us he learned how to be punctual for the first time. So we had a good laugh about that. The thing that really strikes you, though, about meeting these boys is their bond. The Wild Boars team really is a team for life, Diane.
Their bond and their spirit, you know, when you think of something like this, you think about how traumatic it must have been for them, and yet they seem to just be very uplifting to everyone, I think, talking about playing checkers and these funny moments. Such a special bond that it seems you now have with them as well. And James, I think the world wants to know, how did you get this interview?
Diane, it was a long road, let me tell you. It obviously wasn't me, it wasn't just me. There's a huge team here in Thailand working on this. Up to something like 30, 40 of us have been working on this story from the very beginning. And two of our expert producers have been spending time talking to the Thai government, because there was a process that you had to go through in order to speak to the boys. They've been very heavily protected by the authorities here. They have wanted to make sure that they didn't have this onslaught of media interest in their lives. It's kind of getting disturbing them as they try to get back into their kind of normal routines. We're told something like 800 news organizations and publications applied to be able to interview the boys from 71 countries around the world. So the interest was huge. And so we came to an agreement with the Thai government to make sure that we were talking properly with child psychologists to make sure that their well-being was constantly being looked after. And when the Thai authorities felt comfortable enough with our proposal and had seen the work we did, because, you know, like you say, we were here from the beginning. They counted the number of pieces we actually did. I sat across with them in a meeting and they said, well, ABC, you did 54 pieces during the Thai rescue operation. So this was more than any other news organization. I think that was part of their calculation, but I think they could also see that we cared and we were committed to telling this story properly. So it was a long process, but we got there in the end.
Well, we were committed, and you told their story beautifully, James. I'm sure that was another reason why they chose you for this interview. And one of the big questions that's been surrounding this from the beginning is, Why did they go into the cave to begin with? Were they able to tell you anything about that?
Yeah, so we did ask the coach that question because I think it's fair to say a lot of people, have criticised him. When I've been back home and stuff, people stop me on the street and they're like, well, we saw this story, it's incredible. But why would a coach take boys as young as that into a cave which was obviously as dangerous or became as dangerous? But the simple answer is that these are caves visited by thousands of people every year. It's a tourist attraction, and the boys were interested to go. There's a sign outside the cave which talks about the hidden city, the underwater city, as it is occasionally known as when the water comes in. And all the boys said, we just wanted to see what it was like. I actually asked them all, I said, put your hand up if you've been to the cave before, and only 2 of them did. None of them really, most of them, sorry, hadn't been there before. And so there was a sense of excitement. It was something that they would do after soccer practice, to go on little excursions. And on this occasion, the excursion was to the cave. So the plan was only really to be there for an hour. But if anyone watching has ever spent any time in a place like northern Thailand, where the climate is so unpredictable, especially at this time of year, when the rain comes, it comes hard. And particularly after the dry season, at the beginning of the wet season, when that rain hits the dry earth, that cave filled up so quickly, I think more quickly than anyone could have possibly imagined. And the coach repeated his apologies. He said it in the letter that he sent out to parents. The parents themselves wrote a letter to him when he was in the cave. People might remember saying, we do not blame you at all. And meeting them, seeing the bond between the coach and the kids, there's no sense of blame, there's just love. And there's just a bond which these guys, these kids and that coach are going to now have, I think, for the rest of their lives.
It's so great to hear. And you know, James, when we sat there watching and hearing one by one that more and more of these boys and then the coach were rescued, it really was a miracle the way that they made it out. And that's a testament not just to the SEALs, but also to the boys and the coach. Do you get a sense now that you know them that there's something special about this group that made them specially equipped to be able to complete this mission?
Yeah, it's funny because we talk about these boys as being normal kids, and they are, but they're also extraordinary at the same time. They're special and not special. Meeting them, sitting across from them, you know, you're presented with 12 normal kids who like to do different things, have different interests. You know, for so long we were here talking about the Wild Boars team, and we never got a chance to talk about the individual personalities. But for the first time, I sat in front of them and was able to kind of see. You have Nick, who sat just in the middle on the floor at the front, who's a bit of a troublemaker. I could see him doing kind of side eye to his friends. You have Adul in the middle at the back, very good English speaker, who really sees himself as the kind of spokesperson for the group. You have Titan, who likes to kind of go against the grain. But above all, I think the sense I got was that these boys have learned something about community, about relationships, about how special a bond it can be to have a group like that for the rest of their lives. And I think the main takeaway for me was how these boys just knew the whole time that they would be okay. There was a sense that, yeah, we're stuck in this cave, but we're going to get out. They spoke about it being a little bit frightening, but yeah, that was definitely an inspiration.
Well, no doubt. That level of teamwork will likely influence them for the rest of their lives. It'll probably make them a stronger force in the soccer field, too. And my guess, James, is if the Navy SEALs get a rematch in checkers, the results will probably be a bit different next time around.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? These kids have got it in them to win just about anything now.
All right, our own James Longman there from Thailand. James, amazing interview. Thank you so much. And you can see James's full interview tonight on ABC News Live at 9 p.m. Eastern. You do not want to miss that. And of course, don't forget, you can check the day's headlines all day long at abcnews.com or at our ABC News app. For ABC News Live, I'm Diane Macedo. Have a great day.